Welcome to Women's $1 Million Conversations with Alice Tang, where we share stories from successful businesswomen who have saved, earned, or sold over $1 million and discuss how they built their success and insights to help you achieve your goals. Now, let's join the conversation.
Hi, Meg Carlson, my new friend. I'm very excited. We're in different time zone. I got to connect with Meg Carlson, a mover and shaker in the food and beverages industry. Hello, Meg. Welcome.
Thank you, Alice. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Meg, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Meg Carlson. I've been active in the food and beverage consumer products industry for almost 40 years. I love helping entrepreneurs who are trying to bring innovative, disruptive brands and products to market. I founded my company, Uproar Capital, about 4 years ago with the intention of doing that, following a pretty long stint, both as an entrepreneur on my own behalf and also a corporate executive for a large food company now called Heinz.
Very good. Wow, that's a huge resume. And you mentioned 40 years. Gosh, we think you're 45. So let's keep it there.
Yes, thank you so much. Good makeup.
Awesome. First question for you. On your road to your first $1 million, whether it's your previous industries where you are helping to shape or your current consultation, on your road to that $1 million, how long does it take and how does it make you feel when you hit your first million?
So that's such an interesting question because I didn't set a goal. Hey, I'm going to go hit my first $1 million. I basically, after business school, was fortunate to work for Ore-Ida Foods, which was owned by Heinz. And I just loved the company so much and loved learning so much and kept getting new opportunities that I said yes to. And after about 5 years, I began to be eligible to earn stock options in Heinz stock as part of my long-term compensation. And those were granted every year. And it really wasn't until 1998, 99, when I was negotiating my exit from the company to move on and do something else, that I sat down with my financial advisor, which was provided free as a service to executives with the company. And he said, "You're set for life." I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You've got the current value of those stock options is $7 million. And I about fell off my chair because options isn't real money until you exercise them. So they were just sitting over here waiting. And it was such a freeing feeling to say, boy, I'm 43 years old and I can choose whatever path I want to going forward. Just an incredible sense of freedom.
So I guess you have answered the next question, but I still need to ask the obvious. What's your value of money?
So for me, yes, the value of money is freedom to pursue my dreams, however they might manifest, without feeling that sort of regular pressure of mortgages. Even though we still had a mortgage, we chose to build a second house with some of that money, but really not pressure to get a job, any job, but really to be thoughtful about my next step.
Very good. So would you say that you graduated, you got into the business, you were 21, I'm just guessing, at 43, you were sitting at $7 million of option, not counting everything else.
That's right.
So that's brilliant.
I was actually 28 when I started because I went back to school and got an MBA, and my husband and I got married before because he went to law school. So we really didn't have a pot or a window before we were 28. We started from 28.
Okay, so let's do the math here. I think it's about 17 years to get to 7 million. Okay, 17 to 7. I think this is a good message here.
Yeah.
For our audience. Great. When you sat there, other than falling off the chair, when your advisor told you, how does it make you feel, really? Did you remember the emotion other than the freedom? Do you have joy? Do you have liberation? Do you feel blissful?
I did. I felt it gave me permission to take time to basically a long time off, to take a time out, which is what I did. So our children at the time were ages 7 and 12. And so it was a perfect time to really actively connect with them. So I actually took a full 2 years and just tried lots of different things on, not working, mostly engaged with my family and doing lots of volunteer work and all that kind of stuff until I felt like I was really ready, fully recharged and really ready to do the next thing.
Fully ready and recharged. Next question. On your road to your 7 million, now we're talking about it. There might be some bias you're dealing with, whether it's internal inside you or external. What bias, what is the biggest bias that you have faced in that journey?
Well, my corporate journey, most definitely, there were 2 things for me. One was I was actually the first woman promoted to vice president position globally for all of Heinz, 35,000 employees globally. And so I always said to folks, I'm the only skirt in the room. Everything I do is going to be carefully scrutinized. And it took me a while to get comfortable with being myself and not trying to be one of the guys, but I had to have confidence and trust, and it had to be mutual. The second feeling, I think my bias was more internal, which is this imposter syndrome of I have these great mentors who feel like I can accomplish anything. And most days I feel like that, but some days I feel like, what the heck am I doing? How did I get here? And somebody's going to discover at one point that I work really hard and I'm a good learner, but I'm making it up. So yes, both those feelings.
How do you overcome your imposter syndrome?
I actually spent a little time with a therapist and just talked about the hard mental place that I was and how I felt like I wasn't owning my true self. And that therapist ultimately said, what I'm observing in you is that you have chosen for some reason to give up your power, and you just need to take it back. Take back your power, own it 100%. And that was a real defining moment for me. And at the time I was 35 years old and I was in that first executive role. So it was a very meaningful time for me to own my power.
Take your power back and own your power. That's how we counter. I remember Maya Angelou said something along the line, do your best given what you know. When you know better, do better. So if we assume everybody's learning, we are doing our best. There's no such imposter.
Exactly.
Great. What is your number one advice for a young woman or old woman like me watching this and said, I really want to be a Meg? What is your number one piece of advice for us?
First of all, you're not going to be Meg. You're going to be yourself, and you're going to be the very best version of yourself. So know yourself well, know what you excel at, what makes your heart sing, and pursue opportunities that put you in a position to bring your very best self every day. So that has to do with the values of an organization that you choose to be part of, the people you spend time with, your friends, your family. Be thoughtful. We don't always get to choose our family, but we get to choose how we spend time with our family. Be thoughtful so that you're surrounded by love and people who support you and want you to be successful. And if there are people in your life who are not supportive or jealous or talking behind your back, you don't need to be part of those people. Don't have them in your life because it will just make you feel badly. Get to an organization where your values are fully aligned and be at the core of what is important to them. So for me, I was going into marketing with a finance background. So I chose a company that was good at consumer products marketing, where I could learn from the best and do what I loved. So I was an engineer going to a consumer products marketing company. So join an organization that places a high value on what you're going to bring to them.
There's a lot of great nuggets. Know yourself, if I may recall, and then don't worry about the naysayers. hang out with the supporters. And if you're joining a company, make sure that your values is aligned with them and your expertise on your talent is well needed in that organization so you can thrive.
Yes, very well said.
Great. If you were to redo your life, not everybody want to, what is the one thing you would change in your career?
I think I would have stuck to my guns and tried to find a faster way to get back into food and beverage. I took a diversion when I left the large company, and I went to work for a little tech startup for a year. And I learned a lot from that, especially about venture capitalists and raising money and having a very small group of people, 12 people, trying to change the world. But I wasn't passionate about it. And then from there, I joined forces with the CFO from that company, and we launched a mergers and acquisition firm because we both really weren't ready to do nothing. And we fell into it, and we had a very successful run for about 10 years. But we also went through the incredible economic downturn of 2008, and we had no transactions for 18 months and had to survive that. Lots of people had to go through that. Anybody who was in the investing side or the transaction side with property or businesses, it was really tough. And those are good lessons to learn, but it was a long haul to recover and get back on track. The food and beverage was always my passion. And so I basically took about a 10-year timeout not doing that, and only discovered as I chose what am I going to do next, that was really what I loved doing and where I belonged.
So was the 10 years helpful for the discovery of your real passion is food and beverages? Or you were just thinking at the time when you rejoined, or after 2 years of sabbatical, rejoined, that you wanted to test yourself and see what else you could excel at?
Yeah, that's pretty insightful of you. I think the mergers and acquisition path was a logical one because I had done that at Heinz for half my career. And so it was also a competency. And the beauty of what we were doing is we were working with entrepreneurs, small business owners, to help them realize their $1 million dreams. And so there was a great deal of satisfaction in that. But it was more narrow and limited. And what it helped me learn is I really like very broad. I like a lot of diversity. I like versatility. I like all aspects of a business, and I like running a business.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're winding down to a few more questions. So there are moments in your 40 years that you might look in the mirror or just sit in the bathtub and think, gosh, this is very difficult. Should I quit? And what kept you going?
Probably when I most thought, should I quit, was when I was leading a startup food business. We created a product called Melt Organic. It was the first non-dairy plant-based substitute for butter. And the category was really hard, and we had to raise a lot of money. And I ended up putting a lot of my own money into the company. And there were times when I thought, what is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? And I still own stock in the company, so hopefully it will ultimately have been worth it when there's an exit event, a liquidity event. But what kept me going was I had friends and colleagues to invest in the business, and I knew they had invested in me. I knew that was the primary reason they chose to come into the company. And so I really felt this obligation to not let them down and not walk away just because it got difficult. And I could, because I could, but I felt that was not the appropriate response, that when life gets tough, you really have to dig deep and decide, am I going to figure out how to make this work? And my career had been built on overcoming obstacles, figuring out creative ways to go over or around or under or build alliances. That had been my career. And so why not utilize all of those skills and experiences to figure this one out as well? And I do believe that the entrepreneurs who are most successful They do have luck, but they have tenacity and they have resilience. And everybody counts on the fact that they do, that they're the leader for the reason that they are going to continue to lead and continue to move things forward.
Love what you said when you said when things get really difficult, it's time to dig in. And almost, I didn't hear the word, but be curious about what else that we haven't tried. Because a lot of times we think in the box. So those are the moments to dig further. So thank you very much. 2 more questions.
Sure.
What is a piece of very good advice or very bad advice that has impacted your life the most?
I would say the advice I received from my father-in-law very early when we were just married, 24, 25 years old, and he was the millionaire next door. He demonstrated that in his lifestyle, paid cash for everything, had no credit cards, all of that. And a piece of advice that stuck with me from the very beginning was pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. So what that meant is figure what your minimum requirements are to have the life you want. And then when you get a raise, put it away. When you have a bonus, invest it. Pay for your kids' college. I took a couple bonuses and pre-funded my son's college with that money, so it wouldn't be a burden going forward. Don't use debt to buy assets that depreciate, like cars and boats and all those things. Those are things you save for because you're paying yourself first. Because every time you choose to do that, instead of self-gratification, you're choosing to build your balance sheet, not your income statement. So if you're building your balance sheet, you're building value for the future. If you're growing only your income statement, then you're spending what you earn. And you can choose to do that, but you can't have it both ways.
That made me think of when we explain human capital. In my world, you have an advisor, probably heard about that. So you start at 21 or 28, and then you run until, let's say, 60. Period of time, you work and save, and hopefully we save enough to have a comfortable life at the later part of our golden years, put it this way. So we're converting human capital, doing this every day, every month, and every year into financial capital. So what Meg just is sharing with us is how do you utilize this financial capital? You can spend it on yourself, better necklace, better clothes, better car, better boat, better whatever. Or you invest in the future so that you have a chance to stop even early to help the beloved children in your situation to get to college without hanging on so much debt. So thank you for sharing it. Last question. What are you grateful for?
Right now, I am most grateful for being surrounded by loving family and friends, and being fortunate to have 4 grandchildren who live nearby, who are 7, 5, and 8 months old, 8-month-old twins. Feel so blessed to be able to share in their lives appropriately, not all the time, but appropriately. And they just bring so much joy.
Beautiful. This closed beautifully our interview today, Meg. We are very grateful for you. Thank you for sharing your experience, your knowledge, and your wisdom. If people want to reach out to you, are you open?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I love to mentor others, especially young women.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Alice. I'm grateful for you. I'm very excited about this journey you're on and how you're giving back to others. So congratulations to you.
Thank you very much, Meg.